What's up, y'all? I felt like I owed everybody a live. I hadn't done one. It's been like a week now. And though it wasn't anything like pressing per se, I wanted to make sure I said hello to everybody out there. Um, so here we go. As we're talking WNBA and the weekend that was and everything that transpired. I don't have that much time today because I do have to coach a soccer game. That's why I'm streaming a little early today than I normally do. But I want to get to a few things. One is I was at the Liberty game yesterday, and I just want to commend the Liberty fans and the people that put that team together and everything. Like, nobody's lining my pockets. This is just my personal experience from being there. It's super cool to see the way that has been built up, the way that audience has, come in, and the crowd has gotten so hyped and all those things. Like it feels like a genuine big time sporting event, and it's got its own culture and vibe. So I want to give a hat tip to the Liberty fans, the Liberty organization, and obviously the people that put that team together. With that said, the Liberty are under a lot of pressure because they need to win the finals. Their team is too stacked to not win the finals. This is not a situation where they can afford to, lose and it'd be like, all right, that's fine. That'll be all right. It's good. They are for real, like bona fide super team. You got Brianna Stewart, obviously former MVP last year. You've got Sabrina Ionescu, one of the biggest stars in the game. Probably top 3 or 4 star in the game when it comes to star power. Then you've got, on top of that, Jonquel Jones, who's a former MVP. You've got Leonie Fibich, who is a baller, second best rookie, really, when you look at like ability, I think, and what she's brought to the table. She might be the best shooter in the league. I mean, she had the 3-on-1 break and she pulled up for the 3. That shows you her confidence there. Lainey Hamilton is a terrific role player, and Courtney Vandersloot coming off the bench. So that is a stacked squadron. Anything less than a championship is a failure for the New York Liberty. But what they've built in Brooklyn is a huge success. And I still talk to, I know people in the business and the industry, and it's kind of funny because it's head scratching a little bit because I'll talk to them about doing like a radio hit or something around the Liberty, but they're not talking about them on the radio. And I think at this point, that's a mistake because I think the Liberty have enough of a fan base. They were sold out, standing room only in the building. They have enough of a fan base where it makes sense to talk about them. They're getting enough viewership to talk about them, 1 million views, on the games, which I'll get to in a second. The Liberty are a bona fide real New York sports team, and they could end the New York sports championship drought. But they have to do it this year. They got to do it. Then there's the ratings, which I just referenced, and I did a piece about that. The link is in the description if you want to check it out to try to add proper context, because there seems to be this inability to let go of Caitlyn Clark from any realm. Obviously, the Caitlyn Clark fans are still talking about Caitlyn Clark. They're Caitlyn Clark fans. And the Caitlyn Clark haters can't stop talking about Caitlyn Clark because they find something to be upset about with Caitlyn Clark every day. And there was this like sort of discourse and dialogue over the weekend about the ratings in the sense of, look, they're still good without Caitlyn Clark. And it pisses me off because no one seems to be able to grasp the idea that there can be multiple good things happening simultaneously. And people who are pointing to the ratings and saying, look, people still care without Caitlyn Clark, are making a stupid point, because you cannot look at Caitlyn Clark, who, by the way, I'm not complaining about people talking about her too much. I talk about her all the time, so don't get it twisted. But Caitlyn Clark, she puts it in a whole nother league, a whole nother stratosphere, a whole nother plane of existence. Her last playoff game had 2.5 million viewers. Game 1 of the finals, which was the highest rated on record, had 1.1 million viewers. So more than twice as many people watched Caitlyn Clark's last playoff game as the WNBA finals, which set the record. So you can't sit there and act as if she's not this explosive, once in a lifetime generational force. Even the game against the Connecticut Sun in game 1 was 1.8 million viewers, which is significantly more than game 1 of the finals. And that was up against an NFL Sunday. It was a 330% increase from the year before. So it's foolish to not, to pretend that anything else is on the same level as what she is when it comes to drawing power. But that doesn't mean the other games are not a success. That doesn't mean that the finals numbers are not good. They are. Because if you compare them to the relative numbers, they're terrific. Last year in game 1, it was 729,000 viewers. This year, it was 1.1 million. That's a huge jump. Any company that is worth its salt is looking at that and going, wow, look at this huge jump that we made year to year, that YOY, year over year. So that is a great thing. The semifinals between the Aces and Liberty routinely were close to 1 million viewers. The game 5 of the Lynx and Sun, close to 1 million viewers, which is great. I mean, the finals, it was the first finals game that it hit 1 million viewers in over 20 years. How is that not good? Of course it's good. But Caitlyn Clark's games always get 1 million viewers. Right? Like in the regular season, 1 million viewers every single time. So I just want people to be real about it. It's okay. Number 1, Caitlyn Clark is the most explosive growth figure I've ever seen, the biggest needle mover I've ever seen. And you can't compare it. You can't sit there and go, and I know Sue Bird did this, and Sue Bird's awesome, a legend. I respect her. She's super intelligent. But she said the other day on their show, more or less, that other leagues get big boosts from their big players. And that's true, right? That is true. You see a boost for LeBron James or Steph Curry or the Dallas Cowboys, but not like this. You don't put the Cowboys on Sunday Night Football and it does 3 times as many viewers as the Lions on Sunday Night Football, who just spanked the Cowboys, by the way. Like, it's not that. But at the same time, number 2, hell yes, the WNBA has grown this year. And I credit a lot of those new fans. The old fans are there. There was a steady growth from 2019 to now. Every year, the WNBA finals have gone up. But this is the biggest jump. And it's naive to not think a lot of that comes from the Clark and Fever fans who decided to stick around. Who said, all right, I'm still interested in this. And they're the ones being mocked for some reason, which makes no sense because they're doing exactly what people said they weren't going to do. And I don't know. I can't tell you for sure it's them, but I noticed it anecdotally from the people that I know are Caitlyn Clark fans. I know my wife is calling me in midstream. Let me see if hold on, custom. Doing a live stream. There. See if I get another call. All right. What was I saying? Yes, year by year, the ratings have gone up. The fans that were there are sticking around, right? They're sticking around. So that's good. But now you have a whole bunch of new fans who have come in. Oh, traffic is building up. So this is just me. I have to ride my bike now to soccer. But I'll ride my bike. Let me hold on. I'll ride my bike. All right. But I can't get the soccer balls that way. I have to figure this out. So the new fans that come in, they have stuck around to the sense of, they are still interested, still hanging around, still supporting, still talking about it. And that has to be motivated or appreciated. That has to be recognized. That's a good thing. The whole idea of rising tide lifts all boats. Now, before I get to the comments, the last thing, I wanted to shout out the CCFC because that's like the Caitlyn Clark fans out there. They've dubbed themselves giving themselves a nickname, but I think they're showing how they flex because the Clark fans have come in and they realized at a certain period of time. And I'm not talking about the Yahoo Clark fans. I'm not talking about the Clark fans who were it's only Clark and anything else. I'm talking about the fans that watched the Fever all year, watched Caitlyn Clark all year, latched on to the rest of the league, and have approached everything in good faith. Those fans, you forget how many of them and how powerful they are. Over time, they realized that the WNBA discourse landscape was bullshit. And they decided, you know what? We're not going to take it anymore. We're not just going to sit here and let y'all push us around or tiptoe around stuff because we know you're full of it. So they instead have fought back and they've flexed their muscles and they've, realized there are more of them than there were the people who were gatekeeping. And one thing that displayed that is you look at there was this character on WNBA social media called Dolores. I didn't know this person, but I knew of this person and basically was constantly like saying a lot of mean-spirited, hateful stuff online, whatever, and apparently has some sort of association with Asia Wilson. I see people saying they're best friends. I'm not saying that. I don't know that. I'm not going to smear Asia Wilson, but I've seen them together at, various things. They've been in the same place at the same time a few times. And Dawn Staley has wished Dolores a happy birthday, whatever. The point being is a lot of the influencer types in the space were associated with Dolores. And what the Clark fans have done is get Dolores out the paint for the stuff that has been said. And they're flipping the hypocrisy on people who were like, Caitlyn Clark needs to speak for her fans when nobody has spoken out against what Dolores has said or done. And that is a specific individual who it's easier to influence. I'm not wasting my time on it. I don't, I'm not trying to drag people into the mud. I didn't want that to happen with Caitlyn. I just found it amusing. And especially like Jason Whitlock was the face of exposing it. And I'm not trying to dive into that territory either. But it was a good example of the power of the CCFC and the new Caitlyn Clark fans who have decided, we're here, we're not going anywhere, deal with it. And if you don't want to deal with it, face our wrath, right? Like they even came together with the Swifties the other day to form a super fan conglomerate. But that's about what I had from the monologue standpoint. I'll get to your comments. Again, like I said, I have to go coach a rec soccer game here. I don't have too much time, but I wanted to make sure I threw a stream in. Kevin Zwicker, longtime member, longtime fan. Women's college ball is just around the corner. Let's go South Carolina. You are entitled to root for South Carolina. Look, I mean, women's college basketball. I'll be doing a stream for Bleacher Report tomorrow at noon about that. That's going to be huge. And women's college basketball is in some ways becoming bigger than men's college basketball. I mean, last year it outrated men's college basketball in the Final Four and the championship. Now, a lot of that had to do with Caitlyn Clark, obviously, but I still think you're going to see a big boost from that. And there's more star power because there's more stories to follow and more stars in women's college basketball where, like, the coaches, you got Dawn Staley, you got Gino Auriemma, you got Kim Mulkey. Then you got the players like, obviously, Juju Watkins, who's getting these big deals now, and Paige Beckers, and, more to come. And on the men's side, the really good players are one and done, or they're coming from Europe to the draft, stuff like that. There's a lot of factors that don't allow people to stick around and develop a relationship with a team or a player. And that's where I think women's college basketball has the advantage on men's college basketball right now. DS, Robin, why is the finals at 3 p.m. on Sunday against football? I'd like to watch, but they need to fix that. I'm imagining that has to do with the TV deals. And whatever ESPN and ABC, they have other broadcast deals that they have to meet. So the WNBA is likely getting the windows that are available. Yes, I mean, I don't think it's ideal to go head-to-head against football in the NFL, but it's not changing right now. And a lot of that has to do with the television contracts and the network deals, I'm imagining, given where, the other products that they have are going to take space in some of these situations, whether it's baseball or Monday Night Football or what have you, versus, Sunday that's open for ABC and ESPN. Friday night it's open for those networks. So I think that has to be one of the reasons why. But we'll see as it goes along. Continue to send in the chats. I'm going to go through some of the normal chats now. CCFC, it's like, the soccer and FC, it's like the Caitlyn Clark fan club, more or less. Nike Rawhide, who's asking. Kevin says, almost at 10,000 subs. Hit the sub button if you haven't already. Oh, yeah. Am I that close? Like and subscribe. Please, let me see. Where am I at? Yeah, that's, like 500 subs away from 10,000. And I really didn't start this. I started this channel, I would say, in January. And I started this version of this channel maybe in May. So pretty quick to get to 10,000, I would think. I don't know how it works. I don't know what other people have done, to be honest. What up, AJ? AJ's guy, Sir Lewis Hamilton from F1, did a Kendrick Lamar homage in his photo shoot. K-Dot really running things right now from a culture standpoint. Sorry, Drake and Drake fans who just can't hold that L. They've been juggling that L, trying to figure out a way to not hold it. They're juggling the L for months and months and months. Michael Massey says WNBA needs an overhaul. I don't know about that. Isabel, let's go, or something like that. She's fun on Twitter, X. I like her presence over there. And Ellie alone has a huge fan base. Yeah, Ellie the Elephant has got to be the hottest mascot in all of sports. I can't think of a mascot who's got more, juice than Ellie the Elephant right now. James Eddington says the WNBA needs a complete overhaul, starting with Kathy Engelbert. Look, here's what I think is going to happen. Honestly, I think as a whole, no one was quite prepared for what this season would bring. No one was quite prepared for the level of interest and intensity of the discussions and everything else. I mean, they were prepared where they put Caitlyn Clark games on TV. They were prepared where they front-loaded the schedule. But I don't even think the media partners were prepared. I don't think anybody was prepared for exactly what it was going to be. So what I'm hopeful for is that in this offseason, they will be able to prepare. Both the league itself, the media partners, and everybody else will be more prepared for what, it's going to be. AJ says the haters can't stand that. I'm assuming it was talking about the ratings. Mike says, Robin, here's the thing. If they can get even half the Clark ratings, like 1.4 million consistently, then they'll be able to get the big money. Well, the league already changed the media rights deal. They already got 3 times their media rights deal. They're going to get bigger everybody's getting bigger contracts. Look, the Caitlyn Clark thing is organic. You can't just replicate it. It just doesn't work, that way. Like it's not something you can just make happen. I think the other women should be proud, to be honest, of the audience that's sticking around and enjoying the product and learning the other players' names. Because I guarantee you, there are a ton of people in the audience, a ton of y'all in this chat right now, who can now name the starters on the New York Liberty who couldn't last year, or the starters on the Minnesota Lynx who couldn't last year, who have an appreciation for Courtney Williams' game who didn't last year. That's a significant thing. That's not nothing. That's not nothing to sneeze at. Basil says, the year before, disingenuous, using this huge jump conflicts directly with the ongoing upward trend that I argued with you in the past. Well, the fact is that the ratings have gone up every year since 2019. This year represents the biggest jump during that period. So I don't know how it contradicts. I've noticed the Clark fans really like Nafisa Collier, that's for sure. Who's a hell of a player, obviously. Greg Quetty says Caitlyn brought in all the new viewers and they saw how good the other teams were. The increased viewership from last year is a result of Caitlyn. Well, look, the drop off in viewers is clearly Caitlyn. The increased viewership is at least in large part Caitlyn. I can't say it's all, but certainly she plays a huge role. Anybody denying that is just being naive. And I'm not like, I don't say that to boost her up. I don't say that to celebrate her or to fanboy it over her. It's freaking obvious. I don't think Sue Bird has run away from CC, to be honest. I think she's trying to prop up the rest of the league. And I think sometimes in propping up the rest of the league, people then diminish Caitlyn. And I'm not talking about Sue, but people diminish Caitlyn's impact because they're trying to be like fair, I guess. But I can do both, right? Like I can tell you the truth. The truth is games with Caitlyn Clark do much better than any other game. It's not even a competition. It's laughable to broach. Games without Caitlyn Clark, the numbers fall. But they pleasantly plummet to new highs. And that's a positive story too. That WNBA finals last year was here. WNBA finals this year is here, even if Caitlyn Clark games are here. Yeah, I mean, I see the people becoming fans of other teams and players. And it's only going to continue to boost the league. There's no question. How are game one ratings a joke? They were not a joke. Mike says, give us your opinion on what the league has to do to keep this momentum and capitalize on it, please. I think media coverage could be better. I think the officiating can certainly be better and more consistent. I think, embrace the moment and the promotion. Like next year, it should go full board pedal to the metal on Caitlyn Clark. It doesn't mean you can't promote other players because, you're going to have a rookie class coming in. Paige is going to be promoted, obviously. And you're going to have Angel in her second year. She's off doing her own promotional stuff right now and not as much to do with basketball, but nonetheless, she's got a high profile. And some of the other players maybe that haven't gotten that shine. Like you're starting to see Aaliyah Boston get more shine now than she ever did before. And maybe Nafisa Collier will get more shine now than she ever did before. And these other players, like in the NBA, a lot of the ancillary players can also get the love. So I think that's part of the equation also. Common Robin W. Glad to know. Yeah, Vonda, I understand that not all the fans are sticking around, but some of them are. They don't all have to. Maybe Dolores has been in here, Kevin. I've never spoken to Dolores. I would imagine it's Nike. I mean, it could be Nikki. I don't know. The Nike, Nikki Rawhide. He'll have to, whatever. Help me out. AJ says can't wait for women's college basketball. Is it Thanksgiving? Oh, it's Canadian Thanksgiving. Happy Canadian Thanksgiving. DJML says Lucy Olson third in scoring last year behind CC and Juju, and she's not in the conversation anywhere as far as being a high draft pick next year. I hope the Fever can snag her when nobody's watching. Iowa got a recruit over the weekend. I think it was the first major recruit for Jan Jensen. I will never underestimate Iowa's fan base again. That's for sure. I will promise you that much. You will not catch me doing that. What's up, Ernesto? Yeah, AJ, I've seen you before in my, I've seen you in my I follow you, right? Because I try to follow everybody who supports me like that. I appreciate you for following me for that long. For real. Sean Laka, Carrington will make it happen just to have a. the whole Melissa Smith, DJ Nick Harrington thing is hard for me. I don't know, man. People got mad at me for what I said about their joke the other day. I, I, I didn't personally take offense, and it was like so brazen. It was kind of humorous, but obviously attention seeking. I don't want to talk about them right now. Well, we'll see what the viewer numbers are for this year's WNBA or NCAA finals. Last year was 18 million people. I believe the two most watched basketball games of this century are Iowa and South Carolina from last year, and the gold medal game between France and the men's U.S. basketball team. Who lied? What are we lying about, Element Gold? So, Colin, I don't think CC was targeted that much. I really don't. Like, targeted, that's a strong word. Obviously, Kennedy Carter went out of her way to shoulder bump her. Obviously, like, Skylar Diggins-Smith went out of her way to, like, check her a little bit, but that was in the heat of the moment. That wasn't, like, a premeditated targeting. I don't think. And I think this is the notion where I think she was resented, for sure. And I think there's been some, whatever word you want to, resentment, jealousy, whatever, to her popularity and not even overexposure, because the exposure is correct, but exposure. And I think there's a backlash to that for sure. And it's one of the reasons you don't see her get the proper love at times that she should get. But I do think the idea that she's targeted also polarized people to a certain extent too. I don't think there's like a bounty on Caitlin Clark's head, or there has ever been a bounty on Caitlin Clark's head. I mean, you're looking at a handful of moments over the course of the season, and I really don't think, any of them were with the intent to like hurt her or injure her or anything like that. Other than like the Kennedy thing was a non-basketball play. I'm trying to remember all of them over the course of the year. Was there one in the Chicago game where it was a little like, all right, what are you doing there? But I disagree that she's been targeted. She may have been on the negative end of officiating. I mean, she did not get the calls at times. She was hacked by Mabry in that last game and didn't get a call. Yeah, Mike, the way that they struck the deal, I think they can renegotiate after 3 years, which is why I thought it was a good deal. They basically, what they did was they locked in a deal on the growth from this season. So basically everything up this season was about 3x. They got a 3x deal for the next 10 years or whatever it was. But they also can get out of the deal in 3 years. So it means they're locked in on the current growth, but have a chance to capitalize on future growth. So I thought it was actually a good deal for them. Boxing and Bulldogs. Robin Angel is so unserious about basketball. I don't know how you could look what she's been doing. She's quit the season and say otherwise. Well, look, Angel hurt her wrist, so she can't play basketball. So I don't know. I don't know what she's been doing, what she's going to do. There are 24 hours in a day. Obviously, yes, Angel has done some other stuff that, the whole having Travis Kelce's ex, I keep getting yelled at by people who say she had a career before and she's not just Travis Kelce's ex. Kayla Nicole, I apologize. I know her through the prism of Travis Kelce, and the reason she was booked as a guest is because of Travis Kelce. That was to stir up that. Like, there's no other end game. But I don't know what kind of work Angel's putting in. I do know the Chicago Sky seemed like a complete mess. And I don't know if the GM and Angel are necessarily on the same page. And I don't know if he views her in the same way that the public, especially the media, viewed her during this season. AJ says, speaking of F1, is it true WNBA moved Game 5 start to the evening so they wouldn't be competing with the U.S. Grand Prix this Sunday? Can't say that I blame them. You think Ferrari is going to win Sunday? Well, of course Ferrari is going to win. I don't know why they moved it. But wouldn't F1 follow under the same thing as like competing with the NFL? Everybody was talking about that. Jose from Brooklyn says that's fair. No one was prepared for this. Yeah, I mean, I think it takes an adjustment period. If they fumble it next year, then you really got to talk about cleaning house. But I think you'll see an overhaul in the coverage, in the media, from the league, and a bigger push next year. I would hope so. It's Nike. Got it. Yeah, I mean, I think there is a similar. It's like Tiger Woods or Michael Jordan in the in the 90s for the NBA. Brett Atwood says, "I'm an example of CC fans that stuck around. I've never watched a WNBA playoff series before this year. I will say that I have very little patience for bad play like yesterday. Was yesterday's play so bad? And maybe I was in the building, so I didn't. But I didn't notice it as particularly bad." Bobby uses the haters are crazy. First is Paige Becker's better than Caitlyn Clark, then Angel Reese, then Aaliyah Boston, then Kelsey Mitchell, then Asia Wilson. Now it's Juju Watkins. Look, I mean, I don't think you're going to see. Look, if one of those players, if Juju or Paige is like actually a arguable peer for Caitlyn Clark, that would be great for the game. As is now, they're the next wave. But Clark is a once in a lifetime phenomenon. We'll see, but that doesn't mean she's she doesn't have claim to the best player forever or the most transformative player. Rakia will continue to blossom and could be an all-star. Oh, I'm a fan of Rakia Jackson's game for sure. I think the rookie class as a whole. Cameron Brink got hurt. Camila Cardoso wasn't really featured. She was hurt early. Obviously, Angel can improve. The rookie class was great. I think this was in response to my aside comment that I think if you're looking at the season as a whole and you had to power rank rookies right now, Leonie Fibic has to be second, given what she's done for a playoff team. And she's also like a rookie in a different sense, because she had a lot of experience overseas. Basil, I don't think there was a disproportionate amount of flagrant fouls called against Caitlyn Clark. In fact, if you look at the numbers, it was all a Chicago Sky. So, yes, she had a disproportionate amount of flagrant fouls called against her via the Chicago Sky. But if you take the Chicago Sky out of the equation, it was totally normal. And even the numbers in general weren't like staggering. It wasn't crazy. But the Sky represented, I think there were 4 flagrant fouls from the Sky alone against Clark, and there were like 7 against her total for the season, something like that. So if you remove the Sky one, it's like not many, right on par with some of the other players. Yeah, obviously some of her fans are protective, that's for sure. But there's a difference between singled out at times, roughed up, made to earn keep on the bad end of officiating, versus like targeted is a very heavy word. Yes, and this is true too. Like the officials can decide and clean it up. I don't think I am of the belief, listening to Dejanay Carrington, listening to Caitlyn Clark, watching the play in real time, that she did not purposely. I want to know where that slow-mo video originated from, to be honest with you. Now, Dejanay is kind of messy. She likes to stir things up after the game, and she's the one blasting the fans and making the jokes. So she doesn't help it in that sense. But I think her joke was at Christine Brennan more than anything else, who I sat next to, by the way, in the press room for game 1 of the series. She was there. Nobody said nothing to her. I mean, like, not nobody said nothing to her, like they gave her the silent treatment. Like, none of the people who were talking so tough online, who I know said stuff about her online, said anything to her in person. I think Paige has that Kobe mentality. That woman plays with a fierce attitude. Really looking forward to UConn taking the title this year. Well, I mean, we got to see. Gino Auriemma said she needed more of that. He said sometimes she doesn't play fierce enough. Yeah, most of this flagrant fouls were on the Sky. They're large proportion. So if you wanted to say the Sky had an issue, I think you could say that you could make a case there. The rest of the league, I don't know. Duke Lombardi says, I wasn't familiar at all with the WNBA schedule until this year. I now know all 12 teams. They should have called the landing space call in the last playoff game, 100% for sure. That needed to be called. Just like the maybe play. I think it was DeWanna Bonner that was in her landing space. I don't know, Ed. It would be interesting. I mean, it should be public. And I would just love to hear that person defend their vote more than anything else. That's what I would like to see. But maybe we'll never know. I don't know. Everyone making excuse for bad behavior is the reason America's a joke. Who's making excuse? Let me know what the bad behavior was that I'm excusing. The internet warriors were silent in person. Shocking. Yeah. I mean, like, look, some of them have blocked me, and I didn't say I should have said something about it, but I ain't hear nobody say none of this stuff they say about me in person either. And by the way, if you're blocking me when I'm just having trying to have a good faith debate, like, come on. You know, how soft can you be? Softest league I've ever seen, as far as like the crybaby bullies. You know, those that's how I describe them. They're crybaby bullies. The ones who never stop crying. Like every day they're finding something to cry about. And then if you don't cry about it also, they bully you. And they try to bully you with like underhanded tactics, like calling you a racist, which is a very serious thing to label someone. Luckily for me, I know who I am. I know my career pedigree and I know my personal pedigree. And you cannot float that shit to me because it's bullshit. And I know it. And I'm not going to like let you bully me in that way. Sorry. And I think a lot of the CCFC have, recognized that same thing. And that's why they stood 10 toes. Because I will have a conversation with anybody about this stuff. And I'm not right about everything. And I would welcome the other point of view. And maybe we could like figure, a common ground, or say, oh, agree to disagree on this. But like some of the attacks come on the most mundane things. Gino building this culture? I mean, I want to see. Here's Gino Oriema in the streets of New York yesterday, waiting for an Uber with his wife. Well, yeah, it's an attempt to you at me. All these labels are just to stonewall people from an intelligent conversation debate. I mean, it's a way to bully people and a way to try to intimidate them and maybe in a way try to silence them and make them go away. But I think it's been realized that that's not going to work. That is not going to work. And the Clark fans are here to stay. And there's nothing you could do about them. Like, there's too many of them. They're too powerful. Too powerful. Isabel, I don't know. Like, I'll say a couple of them who have blocked me by name because whatever. The Chris Williamson dude who I used to, see was on SNY, and he says some wild stuff out there all the time. I don't think I ever personally interacted with him, but I found myself blocked. And the others in that circle, the girl Natalie, Natfluential, I think is her handle. I see her at the games all the time. We had a back and forth online about Angel Reese, or it was about the MVP, I think. It was like she was like dismissing the idea that Clark was even in the top 5 or something to that effect. And I basically said, look, respectfully, you don't have to have her 1 or whatever, but if you're not giving her due at this point, you're just not being fair. And she like grouped Reese in with that, and I was like, I don't really think Reese belongs in this conversation. And I guess there was another tweet I had posted that said something to along the lines of like Reese can go from like a high level role player to a star if she finishes around the basket and develops the jumper. And people really took issue with the role player label. And that was her last word. She said, "You're calling Angel Reese a role player. You're not a serious person." That was the last thing. And then she blocked me. Okay. Right? Like, all right. Um, and yeah, I mean, a player that plays defense and rebounds, that's kind of a role player, no? How many defender rebounders have been considered superstars in the history of the sport? Kevin Zwicker, the Liberty win, will we get a live from the parade? Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, maybe. Yeah. I don't think her intent was clear, JSB, but Carrington could have apologized. Sure. A Costanza move and then drop the mic. Yeah. Well, the Clarkies coming together with the Swifties is a whole, you know, that's a terror for any opposing fan base. That's not a conglomerate you want a part of. That's too much. Exactly, Rich. I mean, like, if Angel Reese is your best player in her current form, you're gonna have a bad time. So, like, I'm sorry. Like, she stood out in the All-Star game because she played like a role player and she was great at it. She was running around cleaning up everybody's mess and doing all the dirty work. That's what she's good at right now, which to me is high-level role player. But apparently I wasn't allowed to say that because you're not allowed to talk about basketball. And it's weird because it's only certain players, right? Like it's Asia and Angel mostly who have this protective thing around. Because you talk about anybody else, and I think it's actually died down even with Angel a little bit. Now it's Asia more so who you have to worship. And if you don't worship Asia above everybody else, then you're hating on Asia or something. And then then these like reasonings come out that are just absurd that I don't even want to give air to. Oh, Angel gonna go for K-pop fans. What is K-pop exactly? Like, I like. Is there a good K-pop band that I should check out? Like, what makes them so big, other than like where they're from and that association? It's just, is it the support from like Japan? I guess I don't. DS says X is not real life. Robin, people don't talk about this stuff. Show me one example in real life. You are right, DS. You are 1000% right. I've brought this up many times on this show. If you were to go to, the Liberty game yesterday, you would not hear a single peep. Not from the media, by the way, who are yelling about it online all day. Some of them. You wouldn't hear a single peep about any of that nonsense. And certainly not from the crowd. You wouldn't hear a single peep about any of that nonsense and ugliness. But the problem is the media gives it life. Like the stuff about the fans, right? That's a good example. That's a good example because when you are, looks like something happened for those of you streaming on X. I don't know if there's an issue or something. Let me know. But I'm still here for everybody else, I believe. But when it comes to those fans, they were commenting on social media messages. A lot of them were bots because I had an exchange with what's her name, Coach Val, and somebody said something real racist underneath. And I went to go check them. Like, to be honest, like, because I'm not having that like in my comment section. You get out. And like legitimately, like no debate about it, not like straight racist. And I clicked on the profile picture, and then I saw it was an account formed in the last month that had 0 followers. So what's the point? That's not a real account. The culture war bots have gotten a hold of this. And there are bot farms meant to stir up this unrest. And then the media types give so much validation. The players do too. Some of the players did. That was a problem, I think. Well, I don't want to say problem, but yeah, it became a problem because while it's no one should have to, no one should have to hear nasty, hateful shit about them. Of course not. Such a small proportion was blown up as if it was relative to the whole. And I've said the whole time that when you're dealing with record ratings and attendance, the way this league has experienced, there is no way all those people are in there to cause problems. Or the vast majority. Vonda Phillips, what does stans mean instead of fans? Stan is a super fan, Vonda. There was a song by the popular recording artist Eminem in the, I want to say, late 90s on the Marshall Mathers LP, his second full-length studio recording, I believe, unless we're counting the Infinite Project. And the song was about a super fan of his that was writing him letters by the name of Stan. And because the song was so popular and impacted people so much, it became a term in the lexicon for like a super fan, to the point of being, unhealthy, a stan. But it's also usually used in a positive light now, just for a fan that's really, really a fan. JSB says, are Lexi and CC ice drink experts? I don't know. They're besties, though. Those two, you got to thank Lexi Hull for the Caitlyn Clark off-season content you're getting. Kevin Anderson says, K-pop have great dancers. Good to know. I mean, most haters and trolls are bots. Definitely some of them are. Definitely some of them. The rest of them are just keyboard warriors. I've yet to hear like a real, other than the one lady who was wearing the nailed shirt in the crowd, I haven't seen one example of an in-person actual thing. Whew. Seen this on Twitter. What are your thoughts? Better discography, Wayne or T.I.? I prefer T.I. personally. I know in the popular, like the popular opinion, the consensus is probably going to be Wayne. But if you were asking me for my personal opinion, I would take T.I. Like, I really like the King album and just his delivery and lyrics. Wayne says a bunch of nonsense for the most part. Like, sometimes he's got some clever punchlines, but for the most part, Wayne is saying a bunch of nonsense. So I prefer T.I. Masher says, Dear Mister, I'm too good to call or write my fans. This is my last letter I'll ever send your ass. It's been 6 months and still no word. Yes, James Martin, I'm definitely following the women's college game this year. Absolutely. Heavy. I mean, that's going to be a pivot here, and we'll be covering it on the website as well. On the website. Ernesto says, you cannot follow Wayne's lyrics. That makes no sense. They lead you into a dark rabbit hole of nothingness. Yes, I mean, he doesn't say anything. Thanks, James. I don't think Christy Sides is going to be replaced, personally. I doubt it. Is it impossible? I guess it's not impossible. But I do not think Christy Sides is being replaced. All right, what time we got here, guys? I got a couple more minutes. I have a game to coach. Apparently, the unicorn Halloween decoration in the front yard blew away. which is terrific. I got to go fix that. Now I have to bike to my college college basketball game, my soccer game. uh, Lots of stuff to get to. So I got another minute or so, a couple minutes. DSS, I think you can count Sarah Spain and Christine Brennan as keyboard warriors, crybaby based ones I've read online. Well, there are different sides of the coin. Like, I think Sarah has overcorrected to the point of trying to champion everything, which it's okay. Not that, things shouldn't be covered, but there's a reason one thing is getting more coverage than the other. And it's always been that way. It's not new to sports. And then Christine has been around a long time, but she came in and shook the room up, and the way she approached Dejanay rubbed some people the wrong way. And she's writing a book on Caitlyn Clark. So the people that are like, all right, we want everything, didn't take kindly to the fact that she was clearly doing one thing. And it became much more of a thing that it needed to be. That never needed to be the story. And I think that's the real problem is stuff like that got turned into the story. Yes, I think the Fever are contenders next year, for sure. For sure. All right. Maybe I'll have time to do another one tomorrow. We'll see. Tomorrow or Wednesday. Perhaps I can get another live in, but I wanted to make sure that I got one in today, even though I'm tight with the schedule, because I didn't. It's been, I think, a week since I got one in, and I always sincerely appreciate the community that we've built here. So shout out to all of y'all. We still got a lot of people in here too. Like, I'm leaving with a bunch of people in here, but thank you for tuning in post. Thank you. Baz, I didn't mean to show your comment that time. Nancy, always a pleasure when you're in here. Thank you for the kind words, Masher. And until next time, yeet.